It's too high.
Hi.
My mic input is too
No,
high.
it sounds fine. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to The View from Here, Behind Enemy Lines. We're coming to you today on, today's Sunday when we're recording this, the day after President Trump hopefully destroyed Iran's nuclear bomb capabilities.
Let's do a show of hands of all the Americans that are available on this podcast. Who thinks that was a good idea? Two hands. Don't show me your dick. But anyway, here's the thing. He did it. I think he was pretty sneaky about it, and I don't have a problem with that.
Hold on a sec, Mike. It's telling me now that your mic input volume is high. Put it just a little bit lower.
Well, before you told me it was okay, now you tell me.
It sounded fine to me, but now the program is telling me your mic input is too high. I don't know what.
Well, I'm not high at all.
I know.
So I can't even, system preferences. Here we go through the process. Do you want to pause this and
we'll pause this while Mike
dump it and start over again? Here we go.
Okay, folks, and we're back. Little technical glitch which we had fixed.
Yay!
Luckily, we'll pause it so you didn't have to sit through it.
By the way, anyway. I'm the one who fixed it. There was no we involved.
All right. Yeah, he doesn't like sharing credit. Oh, by the way, let me ask you something. Have you noticed any difference since you started using the? This is going to sound like a commercial, folks, but it's real. Since you started using the dip shampoo that Kate sent us, Kate Asseroff.
I haven't noticed anything. There's nothing.
I mean, my hair's grown in since then, but it seems to me that it's softer than it generally was before.
Okay.
I don't know if you've noticed the same thing or not.
Well,
no? Because you started using it a couple of days before I did.
Well, the thing is, I was always using an organic shampoo. I was using a coconut shampoo. And so.
Oh, all right. So it's continued. Okay, that's cool.
I've never had.
I just started that a couple of days ago.
Hair that was.
You've never what?
My hair has always been what it is.
Okay.
Wouldn't know soft from hard.
Anyway, okay. Let's get on to what we came online to talk about, which is the prevention of an Iraqi war, we hope. Iranian war, rather. I mean, what do you think the fallout's going to be, besides the idiots in the Democrat Party who are already calling for an impeachment?
Well, if you didn't presume that was going to happen, I think...
Yeah. Obama droned an American citizen, but they didn't even think about impeaching him.
They even put American citizens in Abu Ghraib because once they were overseas, they said that you didn't get the rights of an American citizen.
Yeah, but they were fast to give illegals the rights of American citizens.
So what do I think is going to happen? Number one, again, because G7 the day before said that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. I do believe that was their way of saying go for it. The thing is that I don't see anybody on our side arguing about it. The left is going to be the left is going to be argumentative regardless of the subject. If all of a sudden the average American shit gold, okay, they'd be bitching about too much gold.
Yeah. No, they aren't happy with anything except the destruction of the United States, of our Constitution, of capitalism, the whole bit. That's the only thing.
Yep.
That would make them happy.
They like cutting off peepees also, too.
Yeah, that's another thing. They're all upset that, what was it?
Tennessee.
What was the court the Supreme Court, wasn't it? That recently said.
Tennessee.
That what?
Backed up Tennessee when Tennessee said, no, we're not doing this.
Right. Can't use taxpayer dollars to mutilate children.
Right. That has to be privately funded.
Yes. You want to do it, but take it out of your pocket. Don't make us pay for it.
Well, the thing is that Trump proved to the world that his willingness to support Israel as an ally and also to handle a world-class danger was first class. I mean, he went in there. You told me he dropped 4 on each of the locations, 4 bunker busters.
3 on each of the locations. And there was a 4th location we found out about today.
Yeah. And, I don't have a problem with it. Roy doesn't have a problem with it. And
Chuck Schumer has a problem with it. Rachel Maddow has a problem with it.
Yeah.
But these are people who don't give a shit about America. I'm sorry, I'm a little hyped up. I came from the gym a little while ago, and I guess I've still got the blood flowing. So I'm a little hyper, I guess.
Yeah.
And
You
I'm having my coffee.
Chuck Schumer and all those people, they're formulaic. Anything that Trump does, they're opposed to, and anything that they can convert into a negative view, even if it has no justification whatsoever. Just randomly throw darts at a dictionary, and whatever negative terms come up, they utilize it.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have suggested that. That'll give them another option. But the world is that much safer getting rid of these maniacs and their ability to produce an atomic weapon. How it's not bad.
yeah. And it's not, we're not going in under this president. We're not going in there to affect regime change. We hope that regime change happens, but we hope that it happens from within. That the Iranian people rise up finally and say, no, we don't want these shackles that have been on us for, 50 years now? Okay, since the Ayatollah Khomeini, or Ayatollah Asahola, as I used to call him back then.
Where he's rocking the Casbah. He's rocking the Casbah.
I hope that bastard's burning in hell. Yeah, I know it's a mean thing to say.
Oh, you make it sound like you give a shit. You fucking love it. Yeah,
but I do wish it, even though I know it's not something I could do.
I personally do not wish that he's burning in hell. I'm hoping that there is a torture that is far worse than that, and that be applied to him. There.
Well,
feel better?
There's some who say that hell is merely the absence of God. That means that if you go to hell, you just have no access to eternal life like before, which contradicts our belief. I know we've talked about it before, that our souls or our essence is energy, and energy can't be destroyed. But the minds that the energy controls while we're on this earth, those are the things that will never come back.
See, the thing is
in their case anyway,
if your awareness, who you are.
I can barely hear you now. I don't know why the program said it was too high.
Okay, let's do some more of this.
Put it a little higher, because you sound very far away.
Well,
sorry, folks.
Okay, so we're going to do it again. And let's see what we got. I got to find this damn thing. A
little better.
Well, you kidding me? I'm at max.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Okay.
Let's you know what? How about that?
Let's check my volume. 25. You know what?
How about that?
I think 5%. A little better. Way better than before anyway. Let me plug this in, because maybe since it's at 25%, it's not giving me, it's cutting energy and not a lot. Oh, it's a little brighter now. The picture for me. What do I see here?
Okay.
I can see better detail now. The thing was on energy saving, I guess.
Right. Well,
Say something. Say something like a sissy boy. You remember that from Zorro the Gay Blade?
Hey, it's just like a sissy boy. Kiss my ass. There you go. Yeah. I'm watching a mini-series that, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. This is my second or third time I'm watching it. John Adams. Giamatti. John Giamatti.
Oh, Giamatti. He did that a few years ago, right?
Yeah, it's got some vintage on it, but, man, really good.
It's good. Yeah, I heard it was good when it came out, actually.
Yeah.
He's a good actor, that guy.
He's a very good actor.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of films, I started watching something today. I have to get back to it. The Whistleblower with Michael Caine. You ever see it?
No. It's got to be old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. It's and the opening scenes, they have a parade, and they actually have a parade that actually happened by Buckingham Palace, and Queen Elizabeth and Philip was still alive, and they were still probably in their 50s, I guess, when they did this. Or maybe it was in the 80s that they made this film. Anyway, I was just asking if you knew about the film, if it was worth watching. I am in the middle of watching the new season of The Chosen, which I know you aren't into, but I like it. Maybe that's why earlier I said I felt bad about wishing that Khomeini was in hell, because it's not the forgiving thing, it's not the Christian thing to want to wish something bad on people. I don't know. Maybe that it's affecting me that way.
About the afterlife, and I had an idea about that. You said perhaps hell is the disassociation between you and God, and that was an interesting idea. And I could perceive that because, let's say, in the afterlife, you are now fully aware of the presence of God. Then you could be fully aware of you not having a relationship with God, which I think is impossible because in my mind, God sustains everything. So there has to be some sort of relationship, but it might be self-invoked. It might be shame or this, that, or the other thing. Yeah, there was one idea of hell that did appeal to me as a possibility. Hell is being in the afterlife fully aware of all the wrongdoings that you were responsible for and having and maintaining that awareness. So knowing all the things that you did wrong, why you did them, why you were selfish and everything, and living with that responsibility.
In other words, being regretful.
Yes, but on a pure level, pure
At
regret.
what level?
Pure.
Pure level.
Yeah, because
It's similar to how people with a conscience feel about bad things they've done, regrets they have over here. But over there, it would be you never get over the regret, maybe? I don't know.
well, what I was thinking is, you would have regret with perfect knowledge. So it's like there's no escaping it. There's no coming up with any kind of justification whatsoever to diminish your responsibility. You are fully and utterly responsible. And because, we've done, I know I have done a number of things that I thoroughly regret. And yeah, but possibly knowing all the ramifications of that wrongdoing might also be part of it. So let's say you treated this kid really bad. You always made fun of him. And now when you die, you're fully aware of the life that you destroyed, of all of the misery and pain that all of those negative little things that you created literally caused. So it's not about, he didn't do so well after that. I feel bad. No, it's like, I'm responsible for this. This thought kept coming up. This one kept coming up. I crushed his heart this way, that way, the other way. I don't know.
Well, remember, Jesus did say at the Last Supper, I believe it was, that the least shall be first and the first shall be last. So you reverse the roles where, some people might look at it more materially, in a more human-like way and say, okay, so this guy was the servant and the serf, and now that he's dead, he's got to serve you for the rest of eternity.
Well, heaven might very well be the escape from a corrupt life. So, perhaps there is this reoccurring experience of life. My God, what do you call it when people continue to come back?
Reincarnation.
Thank you. So, I was told that reincarnation continues until you get it right. So
that's what the Buddhists believe, I think.
Right. And the Buddhists also believe that many of the enlightened people choose not to move forward, stay behind to help the rest of the world, all of life. Those are the bodhisattva. So
you know what?
What?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
We're talking.
Okay. What if those people that we talked about a few episodes ago, where I mentioned souls coming back as people who have terrible handicaps or are blind from birth or they can't walk. Is it possible that those people are souls who are coming back to get it right or to make amends? They're taking upon, say maybe Hitler came back as a beggar with no legs in India or something to make up for what the evil he did in his previous life.
There's a Buddhist concept, and it might also be a Hindu concept, that those horrible, horrible people we talk about are actually saints. The idea is that in order for people to learn, somebody has to be an asshole. And they take the sins of the world upon them. So this way, you and I don't have to be that guy, but they see...
Like Jesus did. Like Jesus gave his own life so that we could live forever.
Right. But that's another expression. I'm talking about...
It's similar is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And, the Bible's full of people making those kind of sacrifices, where they, they take the big fall for the right cause. We have, Khomeini ain't no martyr because he's not making sacred to the loss of his life. He's what, 84 years old now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one who took over right after the Ayatollah Assahola died, right? Same guy.
I really have not been staying on top of that.
If he's not the same guy, then he's the third guy. He's either the second or third one since they installed this horrible, horrible caliphate in Iran.
Well, it sounds to me like one of those Russian dolls where you open one, you take the top off, and there's a smaller one in between. It's just, the thing is that it seems that he's pulling the strings. Israel has done a fine job of decapitating the leadership in Iran.
Oh, yeah.
And they did it without sending a text.
Well, no. Wait a minute. They caught all those 12, the top Air Force commanders, 20 of them, I think, 12 or 20 something, all in the same room, and they were killed at the same time. And somebody suggested that it may have been, this is all, what do you call it?
Yeah.
This is all guesswork.
Right.
That it may have been an AI phone call that said, look, you got to come to this meeting. And they were afraid not to go because they could get in trouble. So they all came into the same room, and all of a sudden the room went boom.
I'll tell you what the message was. Hi, this is Hal. Can you come to this room right now? Thank you, Dave.
Unfortunately, that probably went over the heads of a lot of people who haven't seen what the hell was the name of the film? 2001, The Space Odyssey.
Which came out, 1970-something in Cinerama?
Oh, geez, a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a groundbreaker.
Yeah. Actually, my older son says that's his favorite film.
Actually, I like two things.
I don't even remember the plot of
John Lithgow, and a second group goes out to the spaceship that had the 2001 experience.
Right.
And they reestablished the computer HAL. And the reason why HAL went crazy is because the company told HAL the lie, and the lie went psychotic. The lie caused him to go psychotic.
Speaking of that, did you hear that? I mean, Scott Adams mentioned it yesterday, I think, that they are saying that if you teach or you feed AI lies, that it eventually goes psychotic also.
Yeah, it's called hallucinations.
Hallucination, yes. AI can have hallucinations. That is really scary.
Well, what you're doing is you're giving it erroneous data. And there's an old saying, computers don't make mistakes, people do. And what that was about was that we were talking about the reason why the mistake was made was because the programming is no good. Well, who created the programming? People.
Yeah.
If you educate a child poorly, you get a dummy. If you educate an AI poorly, you get hallucinations.
Well, even Elon Musk the other day apparently scolded GROK because of, I don't know what it was exactly, but I'm trying to find I should have looked it up yesterday, but he had a...
Do you know where the term GROK comes from? I do.
No. Enlighten me.
There was a book called, that's impossible, because you're already there. Everybody's enlightened as they are. So it's Pluto. So anyway, the thing is that GROK was a term that was used in a book called Stranger in a Strange Land, when this child that was found on Mars was thought to have been kept alive by Martians. So they had Martian skills. And so one of the things that this child would do when he came to the world is he would do a thing called grokking, which is to basically become one with whatever it is that he was studying. So he became the plant. He became the person. So it was a kind of almost a meditational experience where you actually experience yourself as this other thing. So that's what grokking came from. So to call it GROK is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, let me see.
We have our own Elon Musk. We have, oh my God, Kira.
Oh, yes. You know what? I can't find it, but here it is. Elon Musk, GROK did something. I forget what it was. Here's Elon Musk's reply.
Bad AI. Bad AI.
Yeah, he said, your sourcing is terrible. Only a very dumb AI would believe media matters and RS. What's RS? I forget what RS is.
Let's just read the whole thing.
I just read the whole thing here.
And RS what?
I'm trying to remember what RS stands for.
Yeah. What's the entire sentence?
I'm trying to find it.
Because I might be able to figure it out by the context.
Well, GROK used media matters and this other thing as a source for an answer to something. And Elon said, yeah, you're messed up. You're screwed up.
Right.
Your sourcing is terrible. Only a very dumb AI would believe media matters. And what the hell is RS? I can't remember now.
It's another source of information.
It's another source. What is RS? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't know what media matters is either, so it doesn't matter.
Media matters. Oh my God, that's a Democrat. It's a Democrat puppet toy, whatever, that twists the news all the time, claiming that this is the truth, when in fact everything Media Matters says is a lie.
Can't be.
It's propaganda. It's bullshit.
Not be true. You know what? In order to sculpt a perfectly good lie, there has to be just enough truth to make it sound true.
But the conclusion is a lie. Every single conclusion is a lie. Everything is engineered to go along with the agenda of the Democrats, which is a destructive agenda which hates America. And I may be insulting some blue dog Democrats out there, but you are being fooled along with the rest of humanity.
The term,
if you listen to
the term
Democrats.
is global lie, because it's a lie that's meant to move forward.
I call it an ignoble lie.
Well, it's both. It's.
If I say this guy's lying, he's a Democrat, I'm repeating myself.
It's kind of like the term gender. Okay, they presume it means sex. It doesn't. It means something that has masculine or feminine characteristics.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can have masculine or female characteristics and be the opposite of a gender, the opposite sex rather of those characteristics.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's where you got what they used to call them tomboys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there were all these boys that played with dolls and stuff and so forth like that.
I knew a few tomboys growing up. They all grew up to become. Yeah. Some of them may have dabbled in same sex, but I don't know. But they all grew up. The ones I know to get married, have families, and so forth.
Well, the whole idea of the tomboy was there was something that the boys were doing that the girls weren't allowed to do. So they said, "I'm going to act like one of the boys, so this way I can play those games." And it's you know.
I mean, a girl who hung out with a bunch of guys in the neighborhood and played war like we used to do when we were kids, because that wasn't prohibited by the idiot white liberals who think that's a bad thing. It's like in England, there were these two guys. They were not allowed to play with any kind of guns or any kind of war thing. They had G.I. Joes, but the parents took away the G.I. Joe's weapons, and they had to make believe they were like, just friends or whatever. Anyway, both those guys grew up to be British commando.
Well, the thing is that when I was a kid, if you didn't have a gun to play with, you made one.
Yeah.
Stick.
Out of a stick.
What about this?
Or that. If you couldn't find the stick, you did it this way.
They suspended a kid for playing in the playground with his finger gun.
But that a few years ago, when he was about, I think, 6, 7 years old, my brother's son, they called him and they were going to suspend him because he and another kid, they were in a class, they were building stuff. They were building something, a science class. And Paul Jr. and his friend built a thing that was like a gun, a fake gun, obviously a fake gun. Okay, but that's what boys do. Boys are attracted to guns. Not that generation Q and the millennials. They're too pussyfied to like guns. All right, they've been taught that guns are bad.
It's okay, you don't
in every situation. But they were going to suspend it, and my brother went there and said, "You're not suspending him for that shit. He's acting like a boy, and that's fine." They backed down, thank God. But they wanted to suspend him for 3 days.
Well, the thing is that when children play, some of the games are basically role playing. They're exploring what it's like to be whatever it is that they're playing. So when I was a kid, everybody was a potential soldier, and the girls were the potential soldier. Everybody. So, and then the girls, they were potential homemakers, and hence the Barbie doll, this, that, and the other thing,
Yeah, the little magic ovens and stuff.
Right. So now there was this thing a number of years ago where all of a sudden putting babies in blue and pink outfits to match their sex was considered sexist. But the thing is that the child, if you can't tell the sex of a baby unless you're told it, because unless the kid's naked, there isn't anything to see. So, so when you see,
And some kids look like the other sex. I mean, they're featured.
well, everybody looks like everybody. The
Yeah.
point is that it's nondescript as to what your sexual nature is. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to start the kid early with being treated as a male or a female. So if it's a boy, you pick the boy up, you go, oh, you're going to be a little football player. If it's a girl, you're going to break some hearts. So the thing is that basically, when they grow older, they can be goons and they can be prostitutes, which is what we need more of. But essentially, starting them off early and letting people know what their sex is by wearing a particular color is good for the child. It grounds a child. And are we teaching a child how to be a caricature? To some extent. When you ID certain types of people, they're going to be, certain characteristics that we expect to see in there. When we think of a fireman, we think of a particular type of person, a doctor, a particular type of person. When you think of a male, we figure primarily this is what they're going to be doing. If female, same thing. So,
talking about it's okay to have female firefighters and female cops, but you cannot lower standards, because then you wind up getting female cops getting the shit kicked out of them on the street by people they're trying to arrest. You get people like that fat slob who was in charge of, I think it was the LA police department, maybe some other city out in California. They asked her, what would you do if you had to drag out a 200-pound man out of a burning building? And she said, well, first off, if he's in a burning building, he's in the wrong place, or something like that. That's a stupid question, because this fat slob could not carry a 200-pound man, even though she outweighs him. Right?
Here's the problem. She's not the problem. The person who put her in that position is the problem.
Yes, the DEI advocates.
Yeah, because she wants a paycheck. There's some things that she can do. I had the same problem in Amtrak. We had women in
Amtrak. Yeah, tell us that story. You told me once privately.
They couldn't pick up the grounding sticks that are necessary for doing the job. Now, eventually what happened was they spent more money and they ended up getting different types of grounding sticks. But a lot of times they couldn't do the work because there are some things like, if you have a 10-foot long pole and there's a piece of brass at the end that is like a vise, it takes some strength to be able to extend that full range, put it on a pipe, and then tighten it down. It's a lot of work just to move it. There's that. I experienced this, there's got to be more women in your field. No, there's some things that require that because of the nature of the mechanisms that we use. Now, if you can come up with a magical device that weighs 3 pounds and does the same job, then I guess you won't need them. But
that's unrealistic. That's unrealistic.
Well, I don't know what they've got right now. All I know is that every once in a while, when you drive by a work crew that's on the road, check out and see if the flag people are male or female. So the thing is that they tend more, if that's a job that has 10 people, my guess is only 2 or 3 are female, okay? Because heavy labor, digging, and stuff like that, requires muscle. And it's a lot of work. And you're not using powered equipment. You're using, you'll see a lot of times there will be flagmen that will be women, and
yeah.
So I noticed that, and I noticed about 50% of the time I see a woman who's flagging. And I know the women don't fill 50% of that gang, because if you need physical labor, you can't do that. So they're there for show.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But anyway, that might change because with the abolishment of DEI hires, they may go deeper.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of universities that claim that they changed the DEI, I think all they did was change the name of the department, and they still got the same people in charge. So those people are still going to be following their DEI agenda and putting in unqualified people in jobs that should be taken by people who deserve those jobs.
It's against the law for them to hire DEI. So the thing is that they may get away with that for a while, But once those that are in charge actually get the opportunity, they will hunt these people down. And because the reason they didn't make that law so this way a DEI position letters would not be DEI. They did it so this way that practice wouldn't be done. So as long as that practice is being done, they haven't adhered to the law. And if they haven't adhered to the law, it's a matter of time. Look what happened to Harvard. They said, yeah, you can't have any more foreign students because you won't vet them. And now they're bitching, moaning, complaining. And everybody's saying more bullshit about the present group. And this is government money. You can't have it if you're allowing people to come in that are not vetted. These are enemies of the state.
Yes.
So, and of course, they're going to cry, moan, and complain. And
because that's how they get everything they want, is by crying, moaning, and complaining, and just waiting for a Democrat to be in power to reverse the policies that actually make sense.
I'm going to correct your statement and say, instead of this is how they get what they want, I'm going to say this is how they used to get what they want. But
they've been getting.
The door is closing on them.
Yeah, but will the door stay shut? I hope so.
Well, here's the thing. Trump has empowered the awareness and the strength of the American people. They are more vigilant now. So now you have people that are willing to report these things. And, instead of just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. Well, recently there was a woman who won a lawsuit and she's been fighting it for years now because she was fired to make a place for a gay man. Okay. I think her bosses were gay and they wanted a gay guy and they got rid of her. Right. And she sued and she had to appeal all the way up to the Supreme Court before she got,
the Supreme Court, she hasn't won the case yet. So the Supreme Court said that the responsibility for evidence cannot be different depending upon the people involved. They asked for her to have evidence of wrongdoing by listing
that's right.
A long list of historic events, possibly years, of this behavior being done. Basically, if I perform a wrong act once, I get away with it because I have no history. But if I have to do it every freaking month in order for me to, and they were doing that to her. They weren't doing that to the.
They did say something about the burden of proof was not on her the way it has been in the past.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully that will be a win for her and for common sense.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah. Every time when there's a win, it reflects throughout the legal system. So, they're fighting this one because it has ramifications throughout the country.
The only problem is because higher education, quote unquote, has been infiltrated by the lefts for so many years that people who are running Fortune 500 companies and so forth, big companies, small companies, they are actually anti-capitalist. They're capitalists, but they're anti-capitalist. They are benefiting from the capitalist system, but trying to tear it down. They are trying to institute these stupid DEI programs, which they're trying to put in equity rather than equality. Equality means you both start off with the same thing, and according to your abilities, you're going to climb the ladder or you're going to fall on your face. That's merit. That's a meritocracy. That there's nothing, discriminatory about that. Okay. Because in lowering standards so that you make it easier for this person to take the position that this person would have earned, that's only harming society in general.
Well, first of all, running a business and running it in such a way that having the brightest and the best in their various positions goes contra to the rules of success. You want to have the best person for the job if at all possible. Mm-hmm. So by going ahead and saying, this person has to be black or has to be female, you end up with the mayor of Los Angeles, basically.
Well, she's a bad example because she's an avowed communist anyway. Everybody knows she's trying to destroy.
She was recently described as a less ugly Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Freaking
I think I heard that.
Yeah, it's just like, she's I don't think these people are complete idiots. I think that their political alignments are so corrupt that our only observation could possibly be that that would be stupid. But the fact of the matter is, these people, their agenda, their intent, their focus on what they believe their job is has nothing to do with the well-being of the people that they're supposed to serve.
No,
Everything
it has to do with their agenda.
political cronies, the people above and the people below, their personal wealth, they are basically parasitical, and they're only interested in skimming whatever they can for themselves and for their lackeys and for their masters.
Yeah. I thought about this morning. I don't know where it came from, but I was thinking, okay, if the trades seem to be a better place to go to nowadays,
Yep.
because you got 3 million lawyers and they're going to pick 2 or 3, and then the other guys are going to have to do something else and maybe work in a company as an in-house attorney or something, and not make as much money as they would have if they'd gone to a big ass law firm. But plumbers, electricians, all these tradespeople are in greater demand now than they've been for a long, long time. And we are now seeing a push to get people to go into the trades rather than go to college. Not everybody is cut out for college. Okay, not everybody is made to be able to handle that kind of study load, but they have other talents. You might be into cars, and therefore you want to become a mechanic, and you'll be a great mechanic maybe because you love what you're doing.
Well, it's not just lawyer or plumber. Okay, the fact of the matter is, a lot of times you become a plumber by being an apprentice. Okay, so you don't have to go to school sometimes. So the other thing is that becoming a lawyer or doctor, etc., what we would like to call a professional, usually is 4 years of school. It's very, very expensive, and and the thing is that compared to a trade school where you might actually be completely capable in a year.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember a guy I graduated high school with. One time I met him in the late 90s, late 80s, and he asked me, do you think we wasted time going to college? Because he was working for his father-in-law at the time, running a business, a restaurant. I had gone to work for my father. He had a few businesses, and I went to work for him right out of college. I was working for him part-time during that time. I was in high school and college. And Jim asked me a question. He said, do you think we wasted all that time? Because we wasted 4 years getting a degree in something that we're not using, and we could have used those 4 years to make the same amount of money we started making afterwards. In other words, instead of spending money in college, just throwing it out the window, we could have been making money those 4 years and getting more experience and so forth.
Well, the other thing is,
it makes sense to an extent, Not
every college education is going to lead to a job.
No. And too many people that are being allowed into college because of DEI are flunking out after a year or two. And they're going into Harvard, Yale, this and that. But after a year, they're out, and then they're disillusioned with society.
Yeah, let's see. When I was about 28, I was at Rutgers, and I noticed that there was a large number of black folks there. So the conversation came up somewhere, and the thing is that because it was a state college and because there was this whole thing about getting black people into college, that it was very easy to get in. You didn't have to qualify or whatever. And I think that's a disservice to the college. I think regardless of whether...
And the students.
That's true, too. And the thing is that you used the term meritocracy earlier. I mean, that should be part of your breath. Whatever you do, try to do the very best you can. If you can. And if you don't, move on. So the thing is, like, I think it also worked out for some folks because some folks did have a hard time getting in, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of, it was overwhelming. The account of the thing. It's kind of like...
See, the problem with DEI and stuff, you put some black people into colleges like Harvard and so forth. The ones who are smart enough to get through the 4 years, who aren't just pushed through because they're black and so we can't fail them, they will always have a sort of asterisk next to their names, an unseen asterisk, because people will wonder, is he DEI or did he really earn his degree? Did he really earn the right to whatever job he now holds or is looking for? But these people, if they go to a community college, it's going to be less pressure. There's not going to be as much pressure as in an Ivy League school, but they will actually learn because they won't be so far behind everybody else that it either retards the whole class or they're going to get left behind and fall and just drop out.
It's kind of
and
like
maybe never go to college again.
it's kind of like when you see a woman who's 5'11". You can't help but ask, "Is that a guy?" I had one of those today. It was like I go, "That's probably a guy."
Sometimes I'm not sure if it's a guy or girl. I have to try and get a glimpse of the breast to see if they have breasts, to see if they're a guy or a girl. And even then, sometimes the guys have breasts anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's actually RFK is working on that one. There's an interesting little video on YouTube. RFK's 8 foods that he recommends if you want to get healthy. Pretty good.
There was something else I wanted to mention. What was it about trade schools? Well, I don't know. Anyway, I think we've gone 52 minutes today, and we started out talking about President Trump and Iran, and
Big deal.
It is a big deal.
Big deal. And
we wound up on DEI here.
Now, here's the thing. Everybody believes there's sleeper cells in this country. It's not a question of...
Everybody, wait, you blanked out. You came out. I didn't hear. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Everyone believes that there are sleeper cells in this country.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Are any of them going to react to what Trump did? Because was it, I forget who it was, who's the head of the CIA? Gabbard? Tulsi Gabbard? Is she?
No, she's National Intelligence, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. CIA, intelligence, and all that stuff.
Not CIA per se.
Oh, you mean just general? Like just...
She's Director of Intelligence, period.
I remember seeing some little blurb of hers saying the president is in danger.
Yeah. No, the sleeper cells are definitely going to be activated by Iran, okay? Because Biden, or the people controlling Biden, allowed too many people from Iran, Russia, Red China, and other countries that are not friendly to us to enter our country and freely. And they were shipped all over the country. We don't know where they are. What they're going to get a word, and they are going to be activated, and they're going to do some terrible things in our country. Okay, and you know what? The only thing that about that heartens me is that their targets are going to be mainly Democrat cities. Okay,
I don't want them to.
So maybe the libtards will finally learn a lesson. Okay. By the way, I was looking at a picture of the Basilica in Barcelona, right? And it stands majestically in the middle of the city. And it's surrounded by high-rise apartment buildings, condos, apartments, whatever. And I've seen this in Germany, in England, here, even here in the United States. You go to New York, so all these big cities, they like to put people in high-rises and tall buildings. You rarely have, like my town here, people are objecting because there's going to be a building set up that's going to be 5 stories, which is 2 stories higher than they've allowed anything to date in this town. And somebody is proposing to add 2 more stories to that. Same thing is happening in Newark, in the area of Newark where I grew up, the Ironbound. There's going to be a hotel there that's going to go up, I forget how many stories. Already there's one building that's, I think, 14 stories high, and people are objecting to that because you had mostly one-family houses. You had multi-family houses, but they were no more than 3 stories high throughout the entire section of that entire section of Newark, the Ironbound section. And it seems to me that the people who want you and want everybody in cities, want everybody to leave the suburbs, leave the rural areas, they want to pack them into these high rises. And it was proven years ago, that's why they had to destroy all the projects in Newark and other places, because the projects were breeding grounds for crime, drug use, and alcoholism and so forth, just bad things altogether. This is what happens when you go to these big cities. They don't like it that you have your own land, your own house for your own family, and you have a little bit of land, even if it's only a quarter of an acre. They don't like that. They want you to be packed in like sardines.
That's not what they're upset about. What's happened is that as a population increases in the same general area, any place that hasn't been highly developed is seen as being a waste. And they want to build that high rise, which is going to be worth a lot of money. So that little plot of ground that single family is taking up, there could be 13, 14 different families living in the same spot.
Yeah, and they try and do that in certain places.
So the thing is, it comes down to profit margin.
Also, don't forget that in New Jersey, everybody has to have a certain amount of low-income housing in every town. Okay, I can understand why and so forth, and I don't necessarily object to that. But I think that the goal of the people on the left who are pushing for this is to destroy the communities as they are now. You understand? In other words, let crime enter those communities.
I don't think there's much thinking going.
You don't think so?
No, I think it's simply dollars and cents. Simply dollars and cents. So
I don't.
Yeah, because the thing is that again, if the population in the general area increases, and
well, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah,
so
it gives them more power and more money to rob.
I mean, there's where I live, they have built a number of apartment complexes that are about 7 or 8 stories tall, and there was a big hubbub about it because there are those people who do not want change. They want the place to look like it was from the 1820s. So the thing is that you have these people coming in, and they're increasing the density of the population of that area, and on top of that, that's taxes for the city. So that's another thing.
I understand that, but remember, because of all this cramming of people into all these cities, people are starting to flee the cities and again and go out to the suburbs or rural areas, which the ruling class doesn't want. They want those taxes. They want everybody in 15-minute cities so that they can control us better, and then they can say no cars.
It works both ways. There will always be people drawn to the city as it gets denser, and because what will happen is that conveniences will be a block away. Plus, there's entertainment and stuff like that. There's.
I understand that.
And then,
but
there are also people that is when they see that they want to get the hell out because they want to have their own little plot of land. So it's going to swing both ways. And the thing is, it works for everybody because
yes, but the problem is the politicians, the globalist elites are trying to jam us all, get us all out of the surrounding areas and into the cities where they can control us better.
Yeah, well, that's
and make money off us.
Well, the thing is that 6,000 years ago, there was probably the first city, and they had all these people hanging out in the same spot because it was a great spot. And somebody said, whoever was the leader of the tribe, whatever, we need to organize our labor. We need to organize our wealth. We need to organize this because we have such a large group over here. We have to do shit, together to make it work. So you have to have irrigation systems. You have to have, proper toilets and all this other stuff. And so as the community expands, then all of a sudden things compartmentalize. You have, specific tasks that have to be done. So, the thing is, the problem with the city is that there's less independence in the city in regards to this is my land. I can do what I want. By 4 o'clock in the morning, if I want to play my stereo loud, nobody's here to bother me. And then versus people out in the suburbs or out in the rural areas going, there ain't nothing to do here. There ain't nobody here.
Or they can but they can also have a party, invite friends and family over, and party till 5 in the morning and not bother anybody.
It can happen, but the thing is, I've lived in both. I lived in a very rural area, a green town, and which wasn't even half as rural as a lot of areas. And there was a problem. There was I had to constantly invent things to do because the area was very undeveloped. And there was
nothing to do. I understand that. But you have the choice, if you're living in an area like that, of moving somewhere else, as you did, into a city where you have more things to do, so to speak.
I was there for...
Right? But you moved to a city that's not as busy or as bad as New York or Newark. It's a city, and there are things to do. But you can also find areas there that are that you have some privacy.
I was there for 7 years, and I moved out around 2020. And the thing is that every place has its advantages. A rural area has the advantage of privacy. A urban area has the advantage of convenience. Okay.
And theaters and 24 hours supermarkets. And
right. And even
all that stuff.
Culture, then, there's more people. You got a better chance of meeting people. Jobs are more readily available, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the middle of the road, someplace in the middle that's got a little bit of everything.
Suburbs.
Yeah. And then there's pricing, and then there's the geography of the area, et cetera, et cetera. I have what I consider an excellent location, except for one problem. I live on a floodplain. So in 2020, there was water that came into my first level of my house, which was very disconcerting. I've learned to accept that, and I learned to live with it. But the fact of the matter is that there's a price to be paid for every single location. The place where I live.
But in your city, even in your city.
Yes.
Right across the street, you got that cliff. If you had purchased a house up there, you'd never have to worry about the
I could not afford. I could not have afford those locations.
You couldn't, I know. But I'm saying if you could have done that, then you wouldn't have to worry about the two rivers
thing is
behind
that
your house.
Not all opportunities are available to all people.
Yeah.
So it's a question of, and then you have to be willing to unseat yourself from your location. That's not an easy thing. I hate moving.
No, moving is very terrible.
Okay. So there's that. Plus, you go to a new location, you don't know the area, you don't even know where the supermarket is. It took me forever to find out where the hospital was. So the point is that it's easy to go ahead and say you can relocate. But the fact of the matter is that is a chore. And so if you're living, let's say you're living in a place called Newark, right? And all of a sudden there's this high rise. And you go, man, I hate the idea of the high rise. And somebody comes along and goes, oh, by the way, we're thinking about building another one. We would like to buy your property for more than what it's worth. You're going to sell it. Why? You don't like being there. And so the thing is, you've said, okay, they're eating up this area, which was primarily 1 or 2 family homes. But the fact of the matter was, how did that happen? People sold their property, and they left. So it's like they did what was best for themselves, and that's that. And the neighborhood, it's going to survive.
Yeah. But those people are likely to, rather than live in that high rise after it's built, they're likely to find some place outside the area that they sold their house in.
I know a guy, his name is Noel. And Noel had a house in, I believe, either Queens or Brooklyn, because that's all he knew was that Manhattan borough area, right? That's his whole life. Grew up there, blah, blah, blah. At one point, he decided to leave the area for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. The amount of money he got for his house, and I don't think he sold it to a construction thing. He just sold it, right? Because property in Brooklyn is through the freaking roof. Crazy money. And he sold it and literally got a gorgeous multi-acre piece of property in Woodbridge, New Jersey.
Okay.
Beautiful house, turn of the century kind of thing, very large, etc. And he said to me, he says, I can't believe how inexpensive things are in New Jersey. And because he did it out of desperation because he didn't like the way his neighborhood was going. So what did he do? Yeah. Did he fight for his neighborhood? No, he freaking left. No. And he did, and he moved to an area. And after that, he kicked himself in the ass over and over again for not doing it sooner. So, the thing is that when I was working for Amtrak, I learned a very important lesson, and that is the management was doing things, okay? And what we would do is we'd look at what they did and try to figure it out. What are they doing? Why are they doing this, that, and the other thing? And we spent a lot of time trying to imagine what their rationale was. Ultimately, my conclusion was their interests had nothing to do with what we thought was best for the railroad. It had everything to do with what was best for their own department. Yeah. So we gave them too much credit. And I think a lot of times we give our enemies too much credit. There is a never underestimate your enemy, but at the same time, never overestimate them either. A lot of these people, like Chuck Schumer and stuff like that, yeah, they're
I hate that.
smart people, et cetera, et cetera. But you try to rationalize their behavior based upon what you consider sensible actions, it's a waste of time. Ask yourself, if I was a criminal and if I was Chuck Schumer, what would I do? Then you'll understand it. It's all about graft. It's all about, kissing the ass of the Democratic Party and getting whatever rewards that is. It's all about power. Sometimes it's all about vengeance. Some of these people do this shit simply to be mean, simply because they don't like that person, like they do with Trump. Why are they impeaching him? Why?
They loved Trump prior to 2015.
Just to be mean.
Yeah.
Just to be mean. Just to have him stuck with the questions like, well, do you think you're going to be impeached? Blah, blah, blah. This, that, and the other. What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. You can't use government funds to protect yourself. You'll have to use your own funds or this, that, or the other thing. I don't know. And then some judge in Ohio who we've never heard of will say, oh, no, he can't do this. Or, yes, they can do this. So it's like.
Now the corruption is.
Criminals do things.
Entrenched.
For their own reasons, and sometimes those things are simply to be vindictive.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, on that note, I think we can cut this podcast.
Yes.
We will see you. Wait a minute. We in a couple of days we have an interview with who is it we're interviewing?
Barry. Is it Barry?
Is it Barry who's coming on? Let me see. Yeah, Barry Todd. He's coming on Wednesday. We're going to be sitting down with him on Wednesday, not Tuesday. Wednesday.
And is he a captain?
What's that?
Wasn't he a captain in the Army?
He's a retired captain in the Army. His story, he killed someone in self-defense, and the state went after him for a long time. He finally got himself vindicated, but he's proof that alone is proof that too many times governments don't want you defending yourself. They don't like it, and they try and make an example of people. Okay.
Well, yeah, we're going to hear it. We're going to hear it from the horse's mouth.
We'll hear from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, until then, I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday if you're listening to this tonight, and have a great Monday. We will see you again probably Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Our next podcast will be out. In the meantime, adios.
Bye-bye.